I am so incredibly excited to let you guys know about Growth Now Movement Live coming to Reading, Pennsylvania, May 30th to June 1st. That's going to feature some of my top guests, top performers, people who are willing to share their time, their information, and their knowledge with you to help you level up in all areas of your life. Go over to gnmlive.com and get your tickets today because it will sell out, guys. It is going to be an epic day of growing together and really helping each other reach our goals. I cannot wait to see you there. gnmlive.com to grab your tickets today. What is the secret to unlocking your full potential? What makes your idols any different than you? How do you become the person you've always wanted to be in life? This is where you get all of your questions answered. My name is Justin Shank, and I sit down with some of the most epic individuals who are changing the world with their actions in business and in life. We discuss how they did it, why they pushed themselves, and more importantly, how they were able to focus on continuous growth to achieve their dreams. Welcome to the Growth Now Movement. This week, I sit down with Danny Morel.
The poor, they hope to be happy. The wealthy, it all starts with being. Like, who am I going to be as a human being? What do I stand for? What are my values? What are my standards?
Danny is the founder of one of the largest real estate brokers in the country. But it wasn't always like that. He grew up poor on food stamps. And one day he woke up and decided, I'm going to buy my parents a house by the time I'm 21. And within 3 years, he was able to do this. And in this episode, we talk about being resilient and overcoming adversity and how to build wealth when it seems like you have no opportunity. What's the mindset of the wealthy versus the mindset of the poor? What's the mindset of the happy versus the mindset of the not happy? What's the mindset of people that are healthy versus not healthy? This episode is a game changer. I think you guys will absolutely love it. And I think you'll love what Danny brings to the table in this episode. It's absolute fire, guys. Now, I'd love it if you took a second and hit that subscribe button, rate and review wherever you're listening to this show. That's how I know you guys are loving it. I read every single review, and I appreciate it so much, guys. Now, without further ado, I give to you Danny Morel. Danny, welcome to the Growth Now Movement, man.
How are you, man? I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be a great conversation. We had a chat before how we got connected, and I feel like Nathan, I got to give him a shout out because he's become a great connector for me, and actually he's working with Natalie Jill now too, and you were just on her show, and it's been a journey to get you here, and your name just kept popping up, and I'm like, I gotta talk to this guy. So I'm really excited about the conversation and just the journey that you've been through, right? So why don't we just take a minute or two and just you can tell my audience, who is Danny Morel today?
Yeah, today I've got a couple of different companies, but if I were to sum it down into my two main businesses, I'm a real estate broker. We've got 400 agents in the company, did about 982 million in sales volume last year.
Wow.
And we are ranked as the number 35 brokerage in the state of California. And we just started that business from scratch 7.5 years ago or so. So really proud of what we've done so far. And then secondly, I founded an event called Relentless, which I'm sure we'll discuss. And we do a lot of coaching for entrepreneurs. So that's who I am.
Yeah, and that's crazy, man. Like only 7.5 years ago, you started this thing and almost $1 billion last year, which is mind blowing, and congratulations on that rapid growth. But I think the cool part about you is, it wasn't handed to you on a silver platter, right? And I think that's the best stories. That's the greatest thing we can talk about in life is like, it doesn't, and that's a lot of my story and my journey is like, it doesn't matter where you come from. What matters is the choices you're making today to go forward, right? So why don't we dive into that a little bit about how you grew up and what really is your driving force behind this $1 billion organization?
Yeah, man. So, I guess my story starts off in New York City, as myself, my two parents, and then my two younger brothers. And, I don't remember really exactly how it all went down, but I could just remember my parents just not getting along and arguing over the topic of money.
Yeah.
Specifically, I remember there was two conversations that would happen. First was the conversation, my mom arguing with my dad about the fact that he would lend our money to his family members and they wouldn't pay him back. And the second conversation was they wanted that money back so we could buy a house. So like the topic of money and a house has always been around for me. And I guess that's why I'm doing what I'm doing today. I don't know. It could be. But that's where it all started. And then they split up. They got divorced. And when that happened, my mom decided to just kind of check out. She picked us up, us three boys. She moved us all the way out here to California. And, my father decided to just kind of not be present after that. So, it was kind of interesting. At the age of 13, I grew up really, really fast. I was essentially head of the household. My energy was such, and when you compare it to my mom's energy was very kind of passive, very, very dormant. And I'm just a kind of out there kind of dude, know. So I kind of like just took over that role, took over that responsibility. Took over raising specifically my baby brother, taking him to all the baseball games, just doing the parenting thing. And at the age of 18, man, I just looked around and we were living in a crummy 2-bedroom apartment in Rialto, California. And I remember watching the show Beverly Hills 90210, and I just used to see like these kids are living a great freaking life, man, Yeah. And I know it's just on TV. But I also am conscious enough to understand that there's actual people living like this. And number one, why am I not living like this? And number two, what do I have to do to start living like this ASAP? So at 18, I decided to, and don't ask me how I made this decision. I just decided. I'm never going to work for anybody. I'm going to work for myself. And I'm going to buy my mom and my brothers a home by the time I'm 21 years old.
And this is at 18.
That's at 18. And Jesus. It's not only at 18, dude. It's at 18. You got to understand my family background. In my entire family, there was only one aunt that owned a house. So for me to have the audacity to say what I said, nobody was an entrepreneur in the entire family.
Yeah.
I just knew that was the path. And I guess I just had the guts to take the right path. And that's where the journey began.
Yeah. And that's crazy too. Like, I'm fascinated by the idea of being raised in a specific way and seeing opportunity and going after it. Right. Because, my dad spent some time in jail. My mom had a 20-year pill addiction, and people say to me all the time, like, how did you turn out okay? And I don't know if I necessarily have an answer for that. So like, what was it? Was it the scarcity of going, I don't want that, or the desire of going, I really want that?
No, I'll tell you what it was for me. Okay. First and foremost, there wasn't a lot of money growing up, but there was a lot of love, a lot of love. And I had wonderful aunts, wonderful uncles, wonderful cousins. I had an extended family essentially that just really taught us right from wrong. So even though there were gangs all around us, like in my mind, I knew like, don't do that. Like, don't do what those guys are doing, Yeah. So I think that was number one. But the second thing, man, is that, winning is probably the dominant driving force in my life. Like I want to win at everything, And so when you're 18 years old and you want to win, there's a lot of areas that you want to win in. I think as a human being, you want to win in your mind and understanding who you are and how you're wired. I think that you want to win in your body, right? And how you're taking care of yourself. That's another way that you can win. When you're that young, though, when you're broke, essentially, and you have no money, you want to win in your financial life. And, now as an adult, I realize that comes last. That's the last thing to come. Mm-hmm. If you win in other areas, then the money is like a piece of cake. But I think that's how it happened. And I just thought to myself, like, the only way I'm going to really buy us a house by the time I'm 21 is if I go make some serious money.
Yeah.
And the only way I'm going to do that is if I work for myself. So that's how it started.
Yeah. And, it's funny that you just said, I realized when you figure out everything else, then the money becomes pretty easy.
Sure.
So what about that is true today? Like, obviously looking at you now, you're obviously physically fit, you have a lot of it together, and now the money's really happening for you on a grand scale. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that. Like, why do you think that is? Why is it, do you think you can figure that part out and then the money starts to come?
So yeah, and I love studying the human mind. I love understanding how we think the way we think, and it makes us have or not have what we have or don't have,
Yeah.
And so the way I see it is this: there's a formula and a pattern that the non-wealthy live through, and then there's a formula and a pattern that the wealthy live through. And I learned it very early on through a coach, and it impacted my life tremendously. So I'm going to share it with your audience right now. Number one, the non-wealthy start off with the word do. So their life is driven by do. And I want you to really grasp this. Like, if I go out and work hard, if I go out and do this, or what do I have to do, or, how come it's not happening, so forth and so on. Because most of humanity's consciousness is, I do this, I pick this up and I move it and I get a reward.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where it starts. They start with the word do so that I can have. Number two is have, right? So if your audience is writing this down, write down the word do, write down a little arrow, and then write down the word have. If I do work, then I will have money, and then I will be happy. Okay? So that's the standard formula for how humans operate. That's why there's not a lot of entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs understand, this is where and I've had Gary Vaynerchuk on my stage. This is where I'm vehemently against what he talks about. He's all about grind. And everybody's out there like, okay, I'm grinding, but it's not happening. It's not happening. What Gary doesn't explain to people is that there's a force Gary has typed into, or has really tapped into, that allows whatever grind he does to literally be 100 times the impact of the normal human being. And that's the formula of the wealthy. And I'm going to give it to you right now. Number one is be. So again, the poor, they hope to be happy. The wealthy, it all starts with being. Who am I going to be as a human being? What do I stand for? What are my values? What are my standards, right? What am I about? What do I want to be known as? What will I put up with? What will I not put up with? And if you think about all of that, man, you can tie that into finances. You could tie that into the way you dress. You could tie that into your health. You can tie that into relationships. You can tie that into gossiping or not gossiping. I mean, everything starts with a being choice.
Yeah. For
the wealthy. Second, number two is the word do. So look how different this is already. This is just literally you're living as two different human beings, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So if I know my being decision as a human being, well, then what I have to do is easy. It's not that hard because it's driven by a being choice. For example, I'm a sales trainer. I'm training 400 people here at the company. We just launched our coach company. We have 100 paid clients, right? And let's just, as an example, talk about somebody who's having a hard time picking up the phone. They're having a hard time picking up the phone because their life is driven by do. So if they feel like doing it, they do it. And if they don't feel like doing it, they don't do that. Or if they're attached to what happens when they pick up the phone, then they'll back off because they're afraid of rejection. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Whereas the wealthy, they start off with be. So the being choice is I'm going to be wealthy. I'm going to build a big company. I'm going to impact the world. I'm going to change people's lives. What do I got to do that? Well, I got to first start off by being a great salesperson. I got to pick up the phone. Oh, piece of cake. I'll do it because of the being choice. The being choice is driving the action. Same thing with losing weight. People go up and down with losing weight. Why? Because they're attached to do. Okay, eat this, don't eat this. Work out, don't work out. Well, what if you don't feel like working out? What if you don't feel like being strict on your diet? Then what? The whole game is shot. If you decide to be a healthy, vibrant, energetic, passionate individual, then the doing will be easy. And then the last word is have, because guess what you have when you follow life in this formula? You have whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
Literally whatever you want. You want millions? You want health? You want great relationships? You want to fly private? You want to, whatever you want to have, you just got to follow the right one.
No, and that's the first time I heard that broken down that way. It's fucking genius. Like, really good, man. And it's so true because, you know, I've seen the shift in my life where I went from, I need to do this to get this. And I've been there. And now I'm like, no, I am that. And everything becomes so much easier. The day-to-day action is so much easier. And then it all becomes this easy formula every single day. Like, I'm happy to wake up. I'm loving life. I'm making money. I'm doing all these things because I already was happy. I was already excited to do it. I already was wealthy. I already was a top-rated podcaster. All of these things. 100%.
And think about relationships. Specifically, think about men or women who are having a hard time being in relationships. It's because there's an inferiority about themselves. They're being decision about themselves. They don't realize that the way you attract wonderful people is to become a wonderful person yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And so what do you see all over social media? I'm sorry, but you see women who are like, I mean, every picture is, look at my boobs, because they're living through do.
Yeah.
If I take pictures, right, and if I show stuff, then maybe I can have somebody and I can be happy. We're the best women or the best men out there, they don't need to do any of that stuff. There's so much security in who they are and their value system, right? It's a being choice. It's just a different way to live.
Yeah, for sure. So now here you are, you've accomplished so many things and you're still building things, but what's driving you now?
I'm not done winning, man. No one's ever asked me that, by the way. That's a great question. I am winning. I'm winning compared to what my previous self thought winning was. Where I'm at today and what winning means to me is a completely different level. Yeah. Completely different level. And that's the game I'm always playing. Number one, I'm always living life. I always teach our students this. Don't ever do anything for today. I don't do anything for today. I do it for 5 years from now. Any action I take, there's another tip for your audience. You want to really make it big? Stop doing things for today. Do them and plan them so that you can have an impact in the future. So for example, when I was a young salesperson, I would walk around 2 hours a day with the sales script, memorizing. Hi, my name is Danny Morel with Intero Real Estate Services, and I just sold the whole memorizing over. So that, you know what? So that when I'm out on the sales floor, when I'm in front of a prospect, there's nothing they could say that could stump me. But you know why I would do that every day? Because I knew someday I would lead a large organization. I knew someday I would be on stage, and I wanted to be in that room or on that stage in a position where no one could handle sales objections like I could. And that's why I practice.
Now, how do you get through that adversity of not getting the instant gratification when you think of life that way?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. Well, you see, I think that's an understanding that us as human beings have to have, that anything worth its salt takes time. Anything worth its salt. It's like, you know, my diet. Like I have my bag here with my 3 meals. And what used to happen, I was 25 pounds overweight before. And what used to happen was just like this. I would go and I would prepare my meals. I would do my food and I would do good for 4 or 5 days in a row. And then I would look at the scale and I would look at the mirror and I would go, well, shit, nothing happened. And then I get all depressed and all bummed out. So guess what I would do? I would go like drink a lot or eat a lot of milk and cookies and just really just self-sabotage myself. And then on Monday morning, I would like start again. And I did this for like 20 years of my life.
Yeah.
When I finally realized 1 week, 1 month, a quarter, a year, you can forget about it. Health is a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
And that changed my perspective on it.
Yeah. Like there's already been so much knowledge and wisdom dropped in this episode. It's completely unreal because, you know, it's funny. My whole entire life, I've always had like a vision, and for some odd reason, like of what I want to be and what I want to do. And I've always said out loud, I can't wait till I'm 50 years old And I never understood why. People are like, why do you want to be old? You know what I mean? But it's actually, you're making it clearer by saying, like, I'm working towards my future. Like, I'm not afraid of the future because I'm working towards a better future every single day. So, and I'm sure at 50, I'll be like, I can't wait till I'm 70. Like, whatever the case may be.
Now, on the flip side, think about some of our listeners that are listening to us right now that are trapped because they're afraid of the future. And I'm going to tell you why they're afraid of the future. They're afraid of the future because they're afraid of today. See, a lot of people have a hard time with vision, and a lot of people have a difficult time with thinking about the future, because if the future is more of the shit I'm in today, I don't want it. I don't want it. I literally, part of the story we haven't talked about was before I opened up my company, I was dead broke. I couldn't afford a gallon of milk. This was 2007, 2008.
Wow.
I was making $1,400 a month. A month. I don't even know how I lived off of that.
Especially in California.
Especially in California. And this was a couple of years after, I was making $1.5 million. Like, the economy crashed on me. I wasn't ready for it. I got depressed. I just got all bent out of shape about it. And bills were starting to pile up. Collectors would call me. I was having to sell TVs. I sold my Rolex. I sold everything. And you know what finally happened that changed my life? Number one, I took personal responsibility for it. And that's what your listeners have to do. They gotta learn that it's nobody's fault but your own. If you're poor, it's your fault. If you're rich, it's your fault. If you're fat, it's your fault. If you're skinny, it's your fault. And by the way, if you're fat, it's not because you're big boned. It's not because all your family is fat. No, it's because you eat shit all the time. That's why. And you don't exercise enough. And once you really start talking to yourself like that, and you really start taking personal responsibility for things, all of a sudden you go, hey, wait a minute. If it's my fault, then I could do something about it.
Yeah.
I could change things, So what did I do? I literally said, all right, I literally was depressed. I couldn't get out of bed. I was like miserable. I literally went out and I looked at my bills. And I'm going to tell you what I did. If this were my bills, here's what I did. I said, okay, here's my bills. I can't pay any of them right now. And they're calling me and they're threatening to sue me and they're trying to scare me because rightfully so, they need their money. So here's what I'm going to do. And I ripped them up and I threw them in the trash because I couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So why am I beating myself up over and over and over again, making matters worse where I literally can't do anything about it? So I ripped them up. I threw them in the trash can. I told my wife, you know what? If they call, just hang up the phone. They go, no, how can we do? Well, we can't do anything about it. So why just further the misery? Step number 2, I decided to live by faith and not by fear. I said, I've been controlled by this force called fear. And now I'm going to start living by faith, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to act as if I wasn't broke. I'm going to act as if I was wealthy. And I'm going to act like that kind of Danny, not this Danny. Right? Step number 2, I decided exactly what I wanted. And the first baby goal was, I told my wife, honey, I just need us to be able to afford our own place again because I'm living with my mom right now. So I put all my energy into that baby goal. Like, go out and afford your own place. Go out and afford your own place. Go out and afford your own place. And then number 3, I made a plan. And I literally made a plan of how I was going to make that happen. After that, I took massive inspired action. I worked my tail off, and 8 years later, we have a close to $1 billion company.
It's amazing. It's amazing, man. And it's inspiring, really. It really is. And, when I look at the entrepreneurial journey of the things that you've been through and a lot of the great people that I've had on my show, they're now transitioning to becoming a teacher. Right.
Yep.
And that's really kind of where you're at now. So let's talk about that a little bit. You just talked about your coaching company. We talked about Relentless. Let's dive into why you started that stuff.
So that's a great friend. You ask good questions, man. No wonder your podcast does so.
Thank you, by the way.
Why did I start that? Okay. It's kind of like a chef starts a restaurant or an athlete starts to work at his craft, or an Air Force pilot starts to take flying lessons. I can't describe, and this I don't know. But from about the age of 20, I knew I had a gift of communicating to people in a way that caused them to understand things a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And I remember at a very, very young age, I was starting to develop leadership, and people would listen to me because of the advice and so forth and so on. It just kind of made sense. So I always saw myself as a teacher, and I always saw myself as a leader. So part of my story, before I went dead broke when the economy crashed, I actually started a coaching company. And true story, with no internet, no marketing dollars, no nothing, we signed up 500 real estate professionals to be a part of our coaching program. This is 500 people who were paying me monthly to coach them now.
Wow.
Yeah, I was hosting seminars with 600 or 700 people in it. I was leading them on the beach through visualization. I mean, it was just incredible. And then the market crashed and it did what it did. So when I came back and I started my real estate brokerage, that was the value proposition. I thought to myself, most real estate brokers don't really do anything for agents.
Right.
It's real estate brokerages, the environments suck. People don't communicate with each other. They don't collaborate. Everybody thinks that they have the greatest idea and they want to hold it to themselves. What if I created an organization where it was abundant minded, where people shared with each other ideas, where people were willing to help each other? And what if I poured everything into them that I poured into my coaching clients that were paying me back before the market crash? I thought to myself, this is a home run. This is a home run. So company grows, and what starts happening is through social media, people all across the country start seeing what we do, and they go, hey, bring an office here, bring an office to Florida, bring an office to Chicago, bring an office to Colorado, to Arizona. I go, I don't think we're going to do that. But, what we could do is we could start opening up our training, so forth and so on to everybody. And that's how it happened, very organically.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what made you start Relentless? Is that a real estate event or?
Oh, no, it's funny you mentioned that. So, we have these sales meetings here in my company every Thursday, and they're really like epic.
Yeah, I want to come. I'm coming out just to come to a sales meeting. You kidding me?
You really should. Yeah, you really should. They're epic because they're unlike any other sales meeting you've ever been to, because essentially I'm a guy that used to host seminars, and now I'm doing this for free for our agents in the sales meetings, right? And so what started happening was every once in a while we'd go live and people would go, oh my God, oh, you blew I started getting private messages. I've lost weight. I'm making more money. Thank you. And I literally thought, what we're doing here is so good. Like, we need to open it up, And I said, I know, I'm going to have an event. So I just threw it out there into the universe. I'm going to have an event. I'm going to open it up so everybody could come. At the time I was reading a book called Relentless by Tim Grover. Mm-hmm. And I go, wouldn't it be great? Again, I just threw it out there. Wouldn't it be great if I can get Tim Grover, because this is a badass book. I really like this book. Wouldn't it be great if I can get Tim Grover to come speak at the event, and I'll call the event Relentless? Sure enough, Tim Grover comes and speaks at the event, and we call the event Relentless, right? Fast forward to year number two. Year number two, I'm all about winning. I thought, first event, we have 450 people there. This one, we got to have 1,000 people there. Gotta have 1,000 people. So I need a big name. So I hired a big name. I won't discuss who it is, but that individual, and it's kind of funny. You were just talking about how the universe just kind of works and how God works and brings us all together. Sometimes he takes people out of your life that are not part of your value system and don't, And for me, the speaker we had hired was just not the kind of person that I felt was in alignment with our values. And so I just flat out told him, like, I'll never have you speak in front of our audience, and got rid of him. And he was a pretty big name. So I had to come up even stronger because my audience was already expecting somebody. I make the call to Gary Vaynerchuk. At the time, he was a $90,000 keynote.
Yeah.
He's way more now.
Yeah, he's like 125, 135 now.
I think he's 150 now.
Jeez.
Anyway, God bless him though.
Yeah. Amen.
But I mean, at the time, for my second year, I don't even have anything to sell people. I had nothing, no way to recuperate the money, nothing. But I'm just crazy like that. I go, sign him up. So the second year we got Gary Vaynerchuk there, and people loved it. It was a one-day event, and again, messages and emails and so forth and so on. And then this last year, I just thought to myself, we've got something here, and we're genuinely helping people. So we got Alex Rodriguez, Ed Milet, Rob Dearden. We put 2,000 people in the room. It was incredible, man. For 3 days, for 3 lights out days.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. And like, big up on you, because I'm planning my event now, and it's live events aren't easy. They aren't easy, man.
It's tough. If I could give you any advice, Matt, start it off with the right reason. Mm-hmm. Make it about people. Make it about impacting people's lives. Because nowadays, man, you see so many events. It's just like a back-to-back pitch fest. Like, and that'll eventually go away. That'll eventually go away because people are going to get smart, about that stuff. But if I can give you any advice, just make it genuinely about people and helping change people's lives, and you'll win, and everybody will win.
Dude, and I agree 100%, because like that's what this event's about. It's a no sell event. I'm not selling anything from the stage. There's no upsell. There's no any of that. It's about how can I impact your life in a positive way from that stage and the speakers that I'm bringing in. It's crazy. And I really believe in that. Sending out good vibes, you get them back.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
It all works itself out, man. It all works itself out.
The crazy part, and, before we hopped on, we talked about some of the people that I've interviewed, and I'm adding you to this list, is this incredible list of individuals who are extremely successful, however you want to define success. So my question for you is, how do you define success, and what are 3 things you do every single day to ensure it?
I think I define success because I see so many humans struggling with this. I think first and foremost, I define success by knowing myself and knowing how I'm wired and working every day to improve that wiring. I think that's first and foremost, because if you can get that, if you can get the being down, right?
Yeah.
Every health, wealth, relationships, happiness, joy, travel, everything else follows, right? So I think that is success to me, is knowing who I am, seeing my deficiencies, seeing my strengths and working towards my strengths, but working every day to fix and enhance my deficiencies as a human being. That's success.
That's success. And what are 3 things you're doing every single day to ensure that success for yourself?
Yeah. So number one, I have something called a mindset journal. It's on my website. And it's an activity that we do daily that quite frankly rewires us to believe that, number one, it puts us in a great state every morning. But then number 2, we have something in our brain called the reticular activating sensor that essentially dictates what we think is possible for our lives or not possible for our lives. And this book, I kid you not, literally, because I've seen it, like my agents have been my test cases, doubles, triples, quadruples people's incomes just by a daily activity of writing every day 25 times the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. So I think that's number 1. Number 2, I wake up at the same time every morning at 4:25. The alarm goes off. I'm blessed to live pretty close to my gym, so I'm at the gym by 4:55, 5 o'clock or so. And I think that's the second thing that I do to help me be successful. And then number 3, and believe it or not, this is an easy one, but it's one that most people struggle with. I show up every day. Every day I show up. There's not a day I don't show up, man. There's not a day I'm not working. I show up every single day. And I'm telling you this right now because I see and coach entrepreneurs all day long. 80% of them don't show up every day. And those are the 3.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So what's next for you?
Look, man, I've got big goals. And they're all around helping other people. And I say that because, man, I literally just remember, being back either in that 2-bedroom apartment or just 8 years ago, not able to afford to feed my kids, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
And if I was able to apply the principles that I applied in my life and it was able to bless me the way that it's blessed me, I just feel that there's a lot of people out there that wish they just knew how, and that's my mission on earth, man, I wrote down a mission statement back when I was 23, is to be the best man I can be with the blessings and giftings that God has given me, and then to also help others be their best with their blessings and their giftings. And so what's next for me, Relentless is coming up in July. We're going to go on tour. I think we're going to Chicago, Dallas, Houston, San Jose, some Florida. I don't think so.
Come on, man. You got to come to the East Coast.
Somewhere in Florida, New York, and we're going to be doing a little tour, just meeting a whole bunch of great people and doing a one-day event just so that people could hear and feel what we're all about. And then, yeah, that's it. I just continue to spread the message.
That's awesome, man. So I wrap up all these shows with 5 rapid fire questions, but before we get there, how do people get a hold of you? How do they, get a feel for Relentless and get involved with everything that you're doing right now?
So, relentlessevent.com. And I'm going to tell you, I'm proud of a lot of things. I'm proud of stuff. People, I'm the main speaker for 3 days. And then we have a keynote speaker every day and then like a sub speaker every day. And none of them pitch or sell anything. This is strictly value, right? So, I'm going after someone that's bigger. Look, we've had A-Rod, we've had Gary Vaynerchuk, this year's speaker is bigger than everybody combined. I'll just put it to you like that.
I'm trying to think of who it could be.
There's no way you could think because he doesn't even do these types of events. So I'll just leave it at that. And so people don't even know or didn't know who was coming because we haven't announced it yet. They didn't even know up until a week ago what the dates were. But they were impacted so much by last year's event, we've already sold 800 tickets. Literally, no dates.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no dates. They didn't even know when. They didn't know. They just knew wherever the hell it is or whenever it is, whoever's coming, I'm going to be there. So I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, I would be too, man. That's incredible.
Yeah. And we only fit 3,000 in the room. So we'll sell it out. So relentlessevent.com. And then, I have a lot of fun and I'm every day on Instagram. So if they want to look up Danny Morel on Instagram, they can. And then, I just give a lot of free value and content all day long. So
yeah, I caught your store today and apparently you have a legit company.
A legit. Yeah, but I'm literally, that's another, sometimes you got to look and reflect. I'm walking down the hallway and this is our headquarters here. I'm walking down the hallway and I look to my right and all of our staff from all of our offices are all in the room and someone's talking to them. And I'm like, I had to take a picture of that. I'm like, this entire meeting is going on. I have no idea what it's for, how it was for, but it's going on without me. Just great. That's a sign of a real business.
Yeah, right.
And so later on, I find out that what we're doing is we're going to give people 401ks and we're looking into health insurance for all of our employees. We're just at that level where we need to start doing this kind of stuff. So I tell my buddy this and he goes, dude, you have like a legitimate company, huh? And I'm like, of course I do. What do you think I've been working on for the last 7 or 8 years?
I've just been dicking around for the last 7 or 8 years.
All right? Yeah. It's been kind of,
That's amazing. So now we're going to get into the 5 rapid fire questions. Like I said, some are fun, some are serious. I just ask you this, answer within 1 word or at the most 1 sentence. Are you ready?
1 word. Dude, I'm an expressive. I 20 words minimum come out of my
So I did an interview right before this one and everybody always goes off on tangents on all of them. I just say it because it's become a thing.
Okay.
So,
no, but I want to win at this. My heart is 1 word or 1 sentence. Let's go.
So the first one is, what's the one trait that you refuse to say? Okay, well, let me rephrase. What's the one trait you need to have in all of your friends?
In all of my friends.
Yeah. To be your friend, they need this one trait.
Winning.
Love it.
They have to want.
They love it. What is your favorite and your least favorite word?
My favorite word. Oh my God. My favorite and my least favorite word. Well, my least favorite word is anything having to do with victimization or an excuse.
Yeah.
Anything like that. My favorite word is yes.
Love it.
Yes.
If you could have dinner with anybody living or dead, who would it be?
Dude. Steve Jobs.
Nice.
Or Martin Luther King Jr. Or there's a bunch of them, but
no, I'm sure. At the end of your life, if you could...
Or Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, Reaganomics. Let's talk about that.
He was just, I mean, forget about politics. Just like, he was just strong. Yeah.
I love it. At the end of your life, if you could only be remembered for one sentence, what would that be?
He changed my life.
Awesome. Obviously, this podcast is called The Growth Now Movement, so I wrap up every single episode with this one question, and that is, in your life, what has been your biggest moment of growth?
I think it was the weight loss for me, man. I think aside of all the money, aside of everything, that was a battle that I genuinely faced my entire adult life. It was, there was such a negative story attached to it. There was a self-love issue that I didn't even realize, and I finally confronted it, and I did something about it, and I'm in the best shape of my life, and I'm not going to stop.
Wow. That answer is a complete shock to me, and I appreciate you being open about that, because I think a lot of people struggle with that stuff for sure.
People do. Yeah, man. Yeah. And, again, the money is, ultimately money is like, it's nowadays all electronic. I mean, I carry a little cash in my pocket, but other than that, money is just kind of out there. It's just energy.
Yeah.
But when you're facing like literally demons like that, where I would overeat and I would just poison myself the way I did, and I finally was able to do it. And I'm telling you, like, I had to do it because I care enough about people. I want to be able to help them do it, Mm-hmm. But I couldn't do it myself. And so that's my biggest victory so far.
I love it, man. Danny, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to inspire my audience. And I just appreciate everything you said. You completely blew it out of the water.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Thanks for having me. I'm glad we hooked up. And I hope to see you again soon.
Awesome, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for being a part of the Growth Now movement. This is how you can really help me out. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please share it out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. And let's grow this movement to epic heights. And it's all going to be because of you guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.